American Legion Archie Hay, Post 24, leading us through a Veterans Day flag ceremony and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to say anything to us before you start, you're more than welcome to.
I'll say something real quick. We're just glad to be here. We've got our Vietnam veterans. I think all but one of us here are the Vietnam era veterans, and we just appreciate doing this. We're looking forward to this weekend and having our breakfast down at the Legion and camaraderie, and thank you for inviting us.
We very much appreciate you being here and your service. Actually,
three of these guys are pretty familiar with around here. They all knew Betty Knox, who ran the old draft board back in the day. That's how they met her. But all right. Please stand if you're able for the presentation of the colors. Detail, advance. Prepare to post. Post. Hand salute. 2. Assemble. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Detail dismissed. Thank you.
Before we have roll call, I thought with this week being the observance of the anniversary of Kristallnacht, that it would be an appropriate time for us to take a moment of silence to acknowledge the atrocities that are occurring in Israel. So if you would all please join me in that, I would very much appreciate it. Okay, thank you all. And with that, Matt, if we could please have the roll call.
Counselor Thompson.
Here.
Demas.
Here.
Pedri. Zadi.
Here.
Hickerson.
Present.
Hanson.
Here.
Batolo.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Mickelson.
Here. On this evening's consent agenda, we have the approval of the City Council meeting minutes of October 17th, 2023. For officer and staff reports, we have the financial report summary from September of 2023 and the 2023 Weed and Pest Control summary. Under Council Committee and Board reports, we have the Joint Powers Telecom Board meeting minutes of September 21st, 2023, and the Joint Powers Combined Communications Board meeting minutes of September 25th, 2023. I would like to hold the letter from myself to the Wyoming State Construction Division regarding the need for a new high school in Rock Springs, as the governor's office has made a change. And then the HUD Chief of Staff report regarding the Rock Springs Housing Authority, I would also like to hold for discussion. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda items.
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Zadi. Is there... all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstaining? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Regarding the letter of support from the city for the new high school, we clearly have structural issues with the high school due to its age and other conditions. Its location poses a hazard to the residents of that neighborhood and is problematic in terms of addressing any sort of emergency issue that would need to occur there. However, today, the governor replaced the past director with a new Del McComey, and so the letter needs to be modified. And then it was pointed out to me that I had an incorrect fact that the high school is not over 60 years old. Its construction was begun in 1967, making it 56 years old. So I would like a motion to approve the letter with those changes, if that's the council's pleasure.
Your Honor,
Councilman?
I have a comment or two.
Yes, sir.
That the high school being in my ward, I've had several constituents come forward, and the speeding is an issue, the traffic issues. I heard of an incident in the exact same place that we had the fatality last year, that there was almost another bad wreck there. So I'd like it noted that that something needs to be done, a traffic study. I don't know, but something needs to be done because it's a pretty bad situation. And with that, I move on your letter.
Very good. I appreciate that. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Demas. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, we will get those changes made and get that letter sent out. And then I would like to acknowledge April Thompson, who is our housing director. I had the pleasure of meeting with the Wyoming Field Team office representatives who spoke exceptionally highly of April and her work. And direct quote, "We would like what she does here to be a model for the rest of our housing." And I think that is pretty remarkable and is very appreciated. And so I wanted to make sure to take a moment to acknowledge that. And April, if there's anything you'd like to share with us, you're more than welcome to the mic. You're just as welcome to sit there and not do that. It's completely your choice.
I would just like to acknowledge that our housing is the way it is because of my amazing staff. It's not me alone that does this. It's my entire team and how well that they work together and provide for the citizens of Rock Springs.
Well, thank you. And we certainly appreciate your leadership. Is anyone else?
I
Sir?
just want to say thank you too, and by knowing since you first got in there and you've just really taken charge and gone, and with your staff and everything else and everything you've accomplished there, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Well, thank you very much. It is very appreciated. And that brings us to presentations and proclamations. And first up, we have the City of Rock Springs audit from 2023 from McGee, Hearn, and Pies. If you would please. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Mickelson, councilors. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Brittany Wilson. I'm a partner at MHP. We're a firm located over in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I got to take the lovely jaunt across I-80 this afternoon, and I'm happy to be here with you today. So thanks for holding that snow off for a little bit longer. I know it's always touch and go this time of year. Tonight, I'll be presenting the audit report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023. I'm going to go through the two items that you have in front of you, hit what I think are some of the highlights that you should be aware of. But if you have questions at any point in time, please don't hesitate to flag me down, or we can talk about them at the end. I'm going to begin with the bound audit report. On pages 1 to 3, you'll find our independent auditor's report, and we are issuing an unmodified or a clean audit opinion for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023. On page 1, I will note we do have an emphasis of matter paragraph. This is just related to the adoption of another new GASB, or Governmental Accounting Standards Board, item for the fiscal year. Our opinion's not modified with respect to it, just to draw your attention to something new. On pages 4 to 12, you're going to find management's discussion and analysis. This really provides high-level operational highlights. It's also where you're going to find comparative information, as the financial statements are single year only. The financial statements themselves begin on page 13 with the statement of net position. So the statement of net position is shown on what we refer to as a full accrual basis. This simply means that it's going to show your short-term and your long-term assets and liabilities. So 2 columns below, you'll see your governmental funds, which is your city's general fund, and then your business type activities, your water, sewer, and housing funds. Overall, really consistent with the prior year. Total assets of $234 million, up about $3.6 million from the prior year. Total liabilities of almost $5 million, within $800,000 of the prior year. Overall, showing total net position or the equivalent of equity of just under $195 million. You'll see an unrestricted amount within that of approximately $43.3 million. On the next page is the statement of activities, really the equivalent of your income statement. And so this is also broken out between your governmental activities and your business type activities. A couple of swings here that I wanted to bring your attention to from last year. Within the governmental activities, the public safety saw some swings due to, in fiscal year 22, there was a rather unusual significant activity related to the Fire Plan A and the state contributing that money and then the loan being established, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. But overall, that resulted in, there was a contribution made to that plan of about $21 million that was shown within your operating grants and contributions last year. So a really big swing down this year, but not because of true operational activities within the city. There were also some decreases in governmental activities within the capital grants and contributions. So in fiscal year 22, you had some really significant federal funds flowing through, primarily due to AML, the Coronavirus Relief Grant, and then Business Ready Communities. So those were about $7.5 million last year, so a decrease related to those. Overall, in the business type activities, really consistent. Total primary government expenses were down about $2 million from last year, about 4%, so really consistent with the prior year. Down in general revenues, general sales and use tax up about $4 million or 22%, so trending in a great direction that I hope to always see continue. Overall, you can look down there and see the change in net position for governmental was about an increase of $5.5 million. Last year, we did see an increase of $27.8 million, that big increase due to the reasons discussed earlier. As we move on to page 15, you'll see another balance sheet. And so this is under modified accrual. So that means that this is just a shorter term focus. No fixed assets, no long-term liabilities here. So that's kind of the difference between the two sets of statements. Overall, as I look down there, one thing to kind of point out within fund balance, so that shows you what's spoken for from either external restrictions or restricted internally by yourself. On page 17 is the statements of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Seeing that increase in taxes and special assessments of about $4 million. The decrease in intergovernmental revenue compared to the prior year, that's once again those grant funds that we talked about a minute ago. Overall expenditures within the general fund were down about 10% compared to the prior year. On pages 19 to 22, you'll find additional detail on your business type activity fund, so the water, sewer, and housing. So I'm going to hop over to the notes to the financial statements, which begin on page 23. Note 1 details the city's summary of significant accounting policies on pages 23 to 28. There was a new accounting policy adopted by the city related to SPITAs, so subscription-based information technology arrangements. That was the new GASB standard that I had mentioned earlier as noted in the opinion. And so what that relates to, you may remember last year GASB adopted a lease standard, and so they said anything that was an operating lease, we're now going to put on your books as a right-to-use asset and a lease liability. So this year they've taken it one step further, and said, all those IT arrangements that you have, really you're getting the right to use an asset there as well. So any IT arrangement that's lasting more than a year, management was required to evaluate and then record a right to use asset and a subscription liability for that. So you'll see that detailed on page 25, rounding off to page 26. Note 2 on page 29 details the city's cash and investment portfolio. That runs to page 34. Overall, there continues to be an increase in the Wyoming Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, Y-Class. That's now comprising, as of June 30th, 39% of the city's total cash and investments. It was 24% in the prior year. On page 30, one thing to note, we do test collateralization of the city's cash and investment accounts as required by your internal policies as well as state statutes. Happy to report that all funds were properly collateralized at June 30th. I'm going to hop forward to page 36. One thing to point out here under retirement commitments. So this relates to the city's participation in 4 plans within Wyoming retirement systems, the Public Employee Pension Plan, the Fireman Plan A and Plan B, and then the Law Enforcement Plan. And so this is a significant accounting estimate for the city, and how it's determined is Wyoming Retirement Systems is required to have an actuarial report done every year, and that shows for each plan, it compares the assets that they have in trust for that plan compared to the actuarially determined liability that people are earning, current employees are earning, and will be paid out in the future. And then if that liability is more than the asset, there's a net pension liability, and then that is allocated to all participants. So you are allocated on page 38 a liability of just under $23 million for your 4 plans. And then also on page 38, right above the Law Enforcement Pension Plan, there's additional discussion about that significant event last year related to the Fire Plan A. I'm going to hop again to page 43. A new joint venture was formed within fiscal year 23, as you're well aware. The Sweetwater County 2023 Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board Agreement was formed. And so the city formed with other governments. In our world, that's what we call a joint venture. That activity is not recorded in your financial statements, but we're required to disclose your involvement in those organizations. So that's discussed there, as well as the fact that your share of collections, which began on April 1st, were about $1.8 million. So that is recorded within your financial statements as a receivable to come in at a later date. I'm going to hop again to page 47, note 11, post-employment benefits other than pension. So getting into another actuarially determined liability. So this has to do with the city's retiree health insurance plan, and there being a subsidy due to retirees that result in a liability, retirees being able to utilize the plan, which results in a liability under accounting standards. So this one is actually the city hires the actuary as it's your plan and not a statewide plan. Overall, that actuary report estimates $1.9 million of liability, down from $2.9 million in the prior year. On page 50, note 12, leases and subscriptions, is where you'll find that additional information about that new SPITA GASB standard that I referenced earlier, as well as the lease standard that came into effect last year. On pages 55 to 57, you'll find the budgetary comparison schedule. So another thing we check during the audit is to make sure the city didn't overspend within any of their levels of budgetary authority. No issues to report there. On pages 60 to 67, additional trend information for the last 10 years for all the Wyoming retirement system plans the city participates in. And now I'm going to hop clear over to page 70. So really our audit has two parts. And that first part is the financial information that we've covered in the financial statements and the notes. The second part is an audit of your federal dollars. And so that's what begins on page 70. So we are required, there's a set of standards that we go through that identify every auditee as either low risk or not low risk. And that's based on your last 2 years' audits and if you had any material weaknesses. So the city, having no material findings in the last 2 years, does qualify as a low risk auditee. So we're required to audit at least 20% of their federal dollars spent within the year. This year, the city expended just over $1.7 million of federal awards. In comparison, that is down significantly as we would expect. Fiscal year 22, $8.7 million, and then fiscal year 21, $11.8 million. So we saw a huge influx, primarily due to all the COVID funding that was flowing through the city, coupled with AML funds as well. So what we do to audit at least that 20% is we do what we determine a major program determination. And so April was the lucky recipient this year. I think she missed us all those years we had to audit those COVID dollars. And we audited the Public Housing Capital Fund program. So the results of those audits are on pages 73 to 74 and then 75 to 77. So the first one, starting on page 73, is our report under government auditing standards. And in here, we noted no significant or material deficiencies in internal control and no material noncompliance with state statute. So another clean audit report, yes. And then to round it out on pages 75 to 77, so this is our report on the major program, the housing program that we audited. So we look at the direct and material compliance requirements as stated by the federal awarding agency and related internal controls. Happy to report there as well. No noncompliance and no deficiencies noted. So a third clean report for you all. I'm going to quickly scan over the stapled document that you had. And this is our, what we refer to as our letter to those charged with governance. So our auditing standards require us to report certain items to you in your role as those charged with governance, and that's what this document is. A lot of these things you'll see we've already covered within the audit report, but of course I'm required to summarize and present them to you. So here we go. There was a new accounting principle adopted during the year in regards to SPITAs. There was a significant unusual transaction in the creation of the new joint venture. Your financial statements do include 3 significant accounting estimates that are covered in the footnotes. We talked about the net pension liability, the OPEB liability. The third one that we didn't cover that isn't as significant relates to your liability for estimated unpaid claims, and that's in your insurance fund. And you will see audit adjustments attached in the attachment. Important to note, no audit adjustments found by us in the audit procedures. These were just adjustments that were provided by management to us subsequent to receipt of the original trial balance due to timing. No disagreements with management, no significant issues or difficulties. Overall, we felt like the audit went really well, which is something we've come to expect. You all have fantastic financial staff. And so big thanks to Matt and Alex and April and all of their staff. I know that it takes a ton of time and work on their part to get you all with a clean audit report. And we would like to thank them for all the hard work that they put into it. So if I haven't talked too much at you, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council? No, I thank you all for your work. I know that audits take a tremendous amount of time and effort on both sides, but they really help us ensure that all of our systems are working the way they should and that things are in place. And I would like to also thank our staff for the good work that they do at many levels to make sure that we are following all of the best practices that help us have these really great clean reports that we're super excited to hear. So
Great.
thank you. And thank you for coming in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. Before I read the proclamation for Veterans Day, I have a couple of things that I would like to share. One, I'd like to say thank you to the Scouts for being here. It's always excited to see people under the age of 50 attending these meetings. And then I wanted to thank Bruce Pivick and Intermountain Electric. You may notice when you leave that it no longer looks like a Batman origin story in our parking lots. And Mr. Pivick provided the work and the materials pro bono to us, and it saved the city $13,500. And it is very appreciated, not just by us, but also by the folks who work downtown. And then I wanted to thank Monica Ruiz. I don't know if everyone saw, but for the first time, we provided a Spanish language translation of our agenda. We have a significant population of Spanish speakers in Rock Springs, and it is very important to us that they are just as aware of what we are doing here as everyone else. So having said those things, I would like to move on to the Veterans Day proclamation. And I'm going to give council a moment to share their thoughts. But I would be negligent if I didn't mention that this Friday is the Marine Corps' 248th birthday.
248.
Yep. 248?
Thought you said 148.
No, 248. They've been since 1775, right?
All right.
Yeah, they predate us. So that's a pretty significant run. And as far as veterans go, our ability to function as a civil government exists because of the sacrifices that they've made to ensure that we get to do this instead of being shipped off to a gulag. And it is deeply appreciated. Council, would you all like to share any thoughts?
Other than that, Councilor Thompson has probably seen the majority of those anniversaries.
I've seen 57 of them. Not a majority, a good chunk.
Yeah. Solid 20%. That's pretty good. Okay. So with that, whereas Veterans Day, originally known as Armistice Day, is a federal holiday celebrating the day when the armistice with Germany went into effect, thus ending World War I, commemorating the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month for the year 1918. And since the establishment of the original 13 states, Americans have been willing to fight and die to preserve their individual rights, as guaranteed in the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and hundreds of thousands have given their lives while serving. On Veterans Day, we pause to pay tribute to all who have proudly worn our nation's uniform. The contributions and sacrifices of the people who have served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining our freedoms and way of life. Our veterans are brave and selfless individuals whose abiding patriotism and enduring devotion to the ideals on which the United States is founded can never fail to inspire us. Many sustained life-altering physical injuries and disabilities. Others bear the burden of emotional scars for the remainder of their lives. Our veterans represent the best of America, and we continue to draw inspiration from the heroism and dedication of those who currently serve and sacrifice for the cause of liberty and justice. As many communities observe the traditional parades, picnics, and celebrations we have enjoyed over decades, let us all recognize that the commitment and personal sacrifices that our veterans have made to defend our way of life command gratitude and respect each and every day of the year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Max Mickelson, Mayor of the City of Rock Springs, do hereby declare the day of November 11th, 2023, to be Veterans Day in the City of Rock Springs, and pledge our support for veterans and military families. I encourage our citizens to honor our veterans and military families and to rededicate themselves to the preservation of our liberties under the Constitution of the United States of America. And with that, if all the veterans in the room would please stand so that we could acknowledge them, that would be very appreciative. Thank you. Thank you all for your service. Okay, that brings us to public hearings. The first is a public hearing on an application for a restaurant liquor license by Rex Event Services LLC, doing business as Elite Events, located at 545 North Front Street, Rock Springs. Would anyone like to address the council regarding this? Okay. The next is a public hearing regarding flat rental amounts for each public housing unit. Would anyone like to address us? Okay. And the third and final is a public hearing on the proposed sale of a 2002 Dodge Ram 2500 to Clearview Improvement and Service District. Would anyone like to comment on this? Okay. The crickets have it. That takes us to public comment and petitions. If you would like to address the council, if you'd please give us your name and what organization, if any, you represent, please come to the podium and do so.
Hello. I didn't know if I was too short. I think it is. It's green. We're good? Okay. Hello, good evening. My name is Rosa Reina Pugh. I have been a resident of Rock Springs for the last 6 years. I am here on the behalf of my community, and I hope I don't get really emotional because I was earlier. I'm here on the behalf of the Hispanic community. We wanted to be very, very transparent with you guys. This has been amazing to see the Spanish agenda come out in a language that we all have never seen before. We are actually, I'm going off script, so we actually seem to be the first in the state to do this. I'm proud that I call Rock Springs home and that we are just going out and like being the first, being trailblazers in the state of Wyoming. So according to the last census, Sweetwater is second to the entire state. We have the highest community next to Carbon. And we're the only ones that have shown any kind of representation. We're still not where we would like to be, but we're getting there. Having our agenda in Spanish, we celebrated Hispanic Heritage in September. We had a huge event in Broadway, so hopefully this is first of many to come. So I want to just tell you thank you again from my heart, my family, and everybody here. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Max, counselors, I just want to say a few things. Number one,
Sorry, can you please give us your name?
Shirley Sakali. Oh, everybody knows me, so I'm sorry.
It's
I
for the
should've-
record.
I forgot about that because they truly know me. But I would like to say a few things. Number one is I have got to tell you about your employees in the sewer, or the water department, sewer, and also your office, how wonderful those ladies are. I don't have the opportunities to see the men or talk to the men, but they are wonderful. They are always speaking to you. They come out and say to you, good morning, and how are you doing? And just really makes you feel like it just brightens up your day. The second thing I want to say is about these scouts in back of me. There is nothing as good looking as scouts in their uniforms. I'll tell you what, they're somebody to be proud of. My husband, Mike Mathiat, was in the Scouts for 63 years. I've got totes and totes and totes full of his achievements. And it's wonderful. He did not have a father. He had a next-door neighbor that said, hey, come on, I want to help you. Let's go to Scouts and that. And he lasted 63 years. So they have a lot to look forward to. And you know, I hope and pray that they keep it up, that they stay strong and keep going until they can't keep going anymore, because it's a wonderful organization. And just one more is the next meeting I will be standing up here speaking to you. I I will be representing people from Rock Springs and people they have left. And there's a couple of questions that they want answered from you counselors, you know, Mayor, and the counselors, and the chief, and our lawyer, Beckwith. And so I'm not going to give you any more, but I have this stuff for you that you can understand on it, and I'll give it to the chief. Will you please get it before you leave?
Thank you. Okay. Would anyone else like to provide comment? Surely there's a scout out there who's dying. Oh, here's someone. I said, surely there was a scout who's dying to come address us.
Okay, my name is Heather Weidel. I typed everything up, so I'm just going to read off of this because I get nervous public speaking. So I've gotten older, so it's gotten better. So I want to thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I have never spoken at a town hall meeting before. That is why I decided to type and read it, this letter. That way it is quick to the point and I don't leave anything out. My family moved to Rock Springs in '95 for a job interview and employment opportunity for my dad. We also moved here to be close to family that already lived here too. I graduated from Rock Springs High School in '96. My children are born and raised in Wyoming. I moved away from the area in 2004. I have lived in Wyoming for 24 years, living in different cities in the state as well as Colorado, Montana, and Idaho. I moved back to Rock Springs in May. I have worked as a DoorDash driver for the past 3 years, delivering food and other things. Putting a lot of miles in and seeing parts of the city, signs and streets countless times a day. I average about 100 miles a day driving, doing deliveries. The information I would like to address is missing signs, road damage, and overall upkeep of the city, as well as the need for traffic cameras in the major intersections. I started noticing missing signs, road damage, and need for some trimming of trees around the city. I ended up sending a list of issues I came across to your office, Mr. Mayor Nicholson. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm starting to shake. Public speaking is not my thing.
We just, when did you send that?
Last Thursday.
Okay. So
I first called the city and road department and addressed like 2 different things. And the lady said, well, she's not sure if they'll actually fix them, but she'll put the information forward. And then I called your guys' office and I talked to your secretary and she said, well, type up a list and give it to us and we'll see what we could do.
Gotcha. I'm super happy that you're here because you didn't leave a return address.
I didn't want to.
And so I met with Paul and he's gone over all of them.
I brought it with me
yeah,
too.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't know how to tell the person that so I'm glad you're here so we can say we are addressing them.
Well, I've noticed 2 of the things were fixed, which was really nice. One of them was like a little bit dangerous, so that's pretty awesome. But I also gave a copy to the police officer earlier today, he was going to give it to Road and Bridge Department. After first initially contacting Road and Bridge, which I said, all of the issues are in different parts of the city, so how they are addressed would depend on who handles the location where they are. I am wondering if there is a way to better include citizens of Rock Springs rather than calling the city for improvements, the suggestion of maybe beautifying Rock Springs campaign, setting up a website for citizens to give those suggestions or issues, possibly in the late spring, early summer, whenever winter decides to stop. This campaign could help the citizens to feel more a part of the city, there are different factors that come in. I do realize that different factors come into play when it comes to why something is the way it is. This isn't pointing a finger type of thing. It is simply, I want to improve the city's road functions and the overall look of the city. The other issue I would like to address is the need for traffic cameras in the major intersections. There are no cameras in any of the intersections, only the YDOT cameras to record the weather. So that weather conditions can be reported. I was in a car accident on October 15th. I was driving on Gateway Boulevard, leaving Sunset, crossing Dewar Drive. on a green light heading straight. I was struck by the other driver on my driver's side door, who was cited for failure to yield by law enforcement, along with other damages to my vehicle. There are no cameras in that intersection of Dewar Drive and Gateway Boulevard. The cameras that are pointing at the intersection are those from Chamber of Commerce and 307 Auto Plaza. The cameras at Chamber of Commerce have trees that are overgrown in the front of the cameras, so the camera view is blocked. 307 Auto deletes their footage after 5 days due to storage issues, or storage to save data. Since the accident, for me, my future protection, I got a dash cam for my vehicle. I'm looking at the broader picture for the safety of all citizens of Rock Springs, as well as those visiting the city. Having cameras in the intersections would aid law enforcement greatly, help to apprehend people quicker, preventing any other further detriment, to help them solve crimes, and to decrease the flow of drugs and illegal activity in the city, as well as to capture vehicle accidents. With law enforcement being able to have footage of all of these different events would save time, protect people, and make the city run in a much more efficient manner. A lot of cities have cameras in their main intersections. These cameras having face recognition in high definition, with the ability to zoom in to get detailed footage. I know there is a cost for the request for cameras in these major intersections. I propose that the city look into lottery funds. Lottery funds are given to each city in Wyoming to use at their discretion, to also put funding where it isn't, to also take funding where it isn't needed, as well as request funding from city, state, and federal levels. A suggestion of the cameras be run under a separate department, which would create more jobs for Rock Springs. The staff for the cameras would maintain them, pull footage for whatever entity needed it. A suggestion of a year being the length of time for the footage to be held before it was deleted. I know that the camera proposal would take some time and some engineering. As to where the funds would come from, along with employing staff, maintenance of equipment, and dispersal of footage where it needed. We live in a fast-paced world in 2023 with all the technology improving at a rapid pace. More people are on roads and the influx of things being delivered to people's homes. I honestly think that cameras are needed in our major intersections, as well as a suggestion for a beautification campaign involving its citizens in improving the function and aesthetic of the city. Rock Springs is a beautiful city. I only wish to see it be protected, preserved, and made more functional. I hope that these improvements can be made to the city. Thank you for allowing me to speak and listening to what I had to say this evening. And I've got this, sorry, I'm shaking.
No, you're
Public
fine.
speaking's not my thing.
No, I don't. I don't think there's 1 in 1,000 people who really actually enjoy it.
I don't.
Yeah, me either.
Who would I give this to? Would it be my councilman from where I live? Or
Right here
awesome.
to Paul.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we are working as a city at securing a Safer Streets grant that would allow us to do that sort of systemic citywide study to identify ways that we can improve traffic flows and safety issues within the city. Bless you. Are there...
My name is Shirley Sakali again. I would like to challenge these scouts to come up here and tell us how much they like scouting, if they will.
Fair enough. I actually just spoke today to another group of teens and basically begged them on hands and knees to, like, please come and share your thoughts about our city. So since you're here in a hostage audience situation, I would love for one of you to come up here. And I promise, as mean as these guys look, they're really not that bad. Yeah, come on down, sir.
Quick volunteer. He'll learn not to do that. Go ahead, join some military.
Hi, I'm Bill Ruoff. I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 4 in Rock Springs, continuously chartered since 1938 right here in our lovely community by the First Congregational Church. And these fellows here are all members of Troop 4 and we are working on citizenship and the community merit badge. It's an Eagle Scout required merit badge. And so this is one of the requirements, is to attend a council meeting, listen to differing points of view, and to share their opinions on that. So, go ahead.
My name is Elijah Widener. So I was already thinking about something that I could say before we all came up here. So I would like to say that first. First, I would just like to say I really appreciate how clean the city usually looks. It's always really nice. I don't always see a lot of trash on the ground, so that's amazing. And second, thank you for allowing us to be able to do our fundraiser, putting up the cows during before the big show on 4th of July. Really appreciate that. Also, my favorite part about scouting in the troop would probably be some of the really fun camping trips we go on, like a month ago or something. We got back from our Granite Hot Springs trip, and that was really fun.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And I don't want to cause emotional trauma to anyone, so if you're not comfortable, that's okay. You don't have to talk to us.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind.
I don't at all.
I would just like to say that I don't think the big show would be the big show without the cows throughout the city of Rock Springs. They are, you know that when you see those that it's time, and they are a great addition to the community. We appreciate it.
It for sure helps set the mood, that's for sure.
Also, Your Honor, when they're out at Walmart and the tourists come in, it's a good conversation starter because you'll be walking down there and they'll, from out of town, it's like, what are all these cows here for?
Yeah.
And if it's right during the time for the rodeo and the fair, it's like, we got a rodeo and fair, come on down.
Yeah.
So it's a good advertisement.
Absolutely. It's a great representation of our community. Anyone else just dying to say stuff to us? Or are you just dying to sit down? It's okay. You guys weren't, there was no forewarning, and we appreciate that you're willing to come down. Yes, sir.
My name is Garrett Flake, and I am the senior patrol leader of this troop. And first, I would really appreciate that you letting us be here, because a lot of these boys need to learn about the citizenship in the community for our merit badge. And I'm pretty sure my best part of the Scouts is helping these boys earn their merit badges and learning about the citizenship.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Please.
My name's Ruben Grandy. I don't actually live in Rock Springs here, but I do live 40 miles north in a little town called Farson. You may have heard of it. But one thing about these cows is it shows we're still Western.
That's true story.
There you go.
And I suspect that you and I are related through marriage. Bill Smith and Sharon and Bob Grandy and those Grandys. Yeah, so we are. So I'm glad you're here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Zachariah Lambert, and I would just like to thank you guys for allowing everyone here to have like a voice to say the problems that they have, and making this place a place for many people to call home, and making it just a safe and great community.
Thank you, sir.
Well, my name is Christian Klein, and I'm a junior assistant scoutmaster for this troop. And actually, one of the first things I did when I joined this troop 7 years ago was come to a council meeting with Mayor Demscher. And so I've come to many council meetings, and it's just been really cool to watch this government as they've worked, this local government, and just see them work things out. And it's been really refreshing. So thank you.
You're very welcome. We're glad to have you. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, very much. And you are certainly welcome anytime. We'd love to have you. Thank you. Okay. Before I close public comment, is there anyone else who'd like to address us?
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, I just wanted to say thank you to the constituent that came in and gave some actual suggestions for ways to improve the community, as opposed to just well, I won't use the term that I'm thinking of, but complaining, on social media. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for taking the time and actually putting some thought and effort into the presentation that you gave. Thank you very much.
Okay. With that, I will close public comment, and everyone buckle up. We've got about 500 resolutions tonight, so it's going to be a minute. That brings us to bills and claims. The first of the bills and claims for November 7th, 2023. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve the bills and claims for November 7th, 2023.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Bartolo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain.
Okay, the motion carries with Councilor Thompson abstaining. That takes us to the salaries for October 23, 2023. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve the salaries for October 23rd, 2023.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Zadi. Is there any discussion? I would just make note that October 23rd is my mom's birthday. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain.
The motion carries with Councilor Thompson abstaining. And that brings us to our new business for this evening. The first is a request from the Finance Department for approval of the City of Rock Springs fiscal year 2023 audit report for McGee, Hearn, and Pies, LLC. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Batolo. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item of new business is a request for a restaurant liquor license by Rex Event Services, LLC, doing business as Elite Events, located at 545 North Front Street, Rock Springs. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item of new business is a request from the Police Department for permission to fill a vacant Animal Control Officer 1 position. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Our last item of new business is a request from the Parks and Recreation Department for permission to fill a vacant irrigation specialist position. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Councilor Zadi. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? The motion carries unanimously. Bringing us to our resolutions for this evening, the first being Resolution 2023-142. Matt, if you would, please.
A resolution authorizing Max Mickelson, mayor, acting in his capacity as chairman of the Rock Springs Housing Board, to approve a revision to the Housing Authority's flat rent schedule for units in its HUD-assisted public housing program.
Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor.
Councilor Hickerson?
I move to approve Resolution 2023-142.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilor Hanson with the second, by a whisker. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Matt, if you will, please.
Councilor Demas,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Patolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Abstain.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes. So the motion carries with Councilor Thompson abstaining. That takes us to Resolution 2023-143.
A resolution accepting and approving the sale of a 2002 Ram 2500 pickup truck to Clearview Improvement and Service District and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said contract on behalf of the city of Rock Springs.
Council, do we have a motion?
Your
Move to
Honor.
approve 2023-143.
Okay, the motion with Councilor Botello. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Demus. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Matt, if you will.
Councilor Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Patolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Which brings us to Resolution 2023-144.
A resolution accepting and approving an open-end equity lease rate quote for the lease of city vehicles between Enterprise Fleet Management and the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said lease on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Zadi?
I would move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Matt, if you would be so kind.
Councilor Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Patolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Our next resolution of this evening is Resolution 2023-145.
A resolution accepting and approving an ASO group reopening request and plan changes with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming to be effective January 1st, 2024, and authorizing and directing Max Mickelson as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute reopening request documents on behalf of the city when it is received.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-145.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Zadi. Is there any discussion? Can't believe you guys aren't all like, woo, insurance, let's talk about it. Matt, until next week. If you would, please.
Councilor Hanson,
Yes.
Patolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. Taking us to Resolution 2023-146.
A resolution accepting and approving a proposal from HRE LLC doing business as Tenzinga for provision of the Tenzinga Performance Management System for the Rock Springs Fire Department and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said proposal on behalf of the city of Rock Springs.
Council, do we have a motion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none before you go, Matt, I just want to say these people really missed an opportunity to do business as Bazinga. But if you would walk us through, please.
Councilor Patolo,
Yes.
Robinson, Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Our next resolution is 2023-147.
A resolution accepting and approving grant award agreement between the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the City of Rock Springs, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said grant award agreement on behalf of said city.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hanson?
I move to approve Resolution 2023-147.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Botello. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Matt, please.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Patolo,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to Resolution 2023-148.
A resolution accepting and approving grant award agreement between the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the City of Rock Springs, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said grant award agreement on behalf of said city.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-148.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Matt, please.
Counselor Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Bringing us to Resolution 2023-149.
A resolution accepting and approving a grant award agreement between the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the City of Rock Springs, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said grant award agreement on behalf of said city.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor, move to approve 2023-149.
Thank you, Councilor Botello. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Matt?
Counselor Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, which takes us to Resolution 2023-150.
A resolution accepting and approving a grant award agreement between the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the City of Rock Springs, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said grant award agreement on behalf of said city.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson?
I know this is a little deja vu, but move to approve Resolution 2023-150.
I was really worried I was going to lose track of where I was. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Zadi. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please.
Counselor Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously, which takes us to 2023-151.
A resolution accepting and approving a contract with Y2 Consultants LLC for the City of Rock Springs Gateway Enhancement Plan Project in the amount of $62,374, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said contract on behalf of the City of Rock Springs.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-151.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. If you could, please, Matt.
Counselor Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. That takes us to Resolution 2023-152.
A resolution accepting and approving an agreement with Target Solutions Learning LLC doing business as Vector Solutions in the amount of $1,100, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said agreement on behalf of the City of Rock Springs.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor, move to approve 2023-152.
Thank you, Councilor Botello. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Counselor Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously, which brings us to Resolution 2023-153.
A resolution accepting and approving a piggyback agreement with Image Trend LLC for record management services for the Rock Springs Fire Department, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said agreement on behalf of the City of Rock Springs.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson?
move to approve 2023-153.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Demus. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Matt, if you will.
Counselor Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Which brings us to our third to last, 2023-154.
A resolution accepting a right-of-way grant temporary use permit from the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Land Management for construction, operation, maintenance, and termination of 2 detention ponds, and authorizing and directing Max Mickelson as mayor of the city of Rock Springs and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept said right-of-way grant temporary use permit on behalf of said city.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-154.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Counselor Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously, which brings us to 2023-155.
A resolution accepting and approving a rental agreement between the City of Rock Springs and U-Haul Moving and Storage of Rock Springs, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said agreement on behalf of the City of Rock Springs.
Thank you, Council. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson?
move to approve Resolution 2023-155.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Whoa. I think Councilor Thompson hit my ear first.
A tie.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
it's kind of a side note, but with us now looking at renting space to store stuff for the police department, knowing also that the police department is pretty well packed to the hilt at this point, I think it'd be a good idea for us to really look at a new facility for Rock Springs PD. I realize it's not going to happen in the next year or two, but I think it's something that we need to look at long term, not just like spare police car parts, but I know that the evidence annex is a secondary location. It's probably seen better days. I think that we need to look at an all-encompassing facility that would meet all the needs of the police department.
We do. I actually would really like to see us move forward with a combined emergency services facility. And we have had discussions around that and what that would look like. So we have at this point, a plan to have a plan. But you're absolutely correct that is a real need for our community. Whatever the final iteration of that is, this is not a sustainable long-term situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. And did we have a motion on that?
We can now.
Okay, I'd love a motion.
We had one. I have Hickerson and Thompson with the motion.
Okay,
ready
so we're
for the
good?
vote.
All right, then if you want to just
I was gonna say.
put the smack down on us, Matt.
Counselor Thompson,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
Yes, that motion carries unanimously, which brings us to our final resolution of this evening, 2023-156.
A resolution accepting and approving a Sweetwater County Facilities Use Agreement between the City of Rock Springs and Sweetwater County, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk to execute said agreement on behalf of the City of Rock Springs.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-156.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion? I think this one just might further illustrate the point that combined emergency services facility is fairly desperately needed. But with that,
Counselor Demus,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Mickelson.
yes, motion carries unanimously. We have a first reading of a proposed ordinance change this evening, so there won't be any action. But my hope is that council has a robust conversation around it either now or at the second reading or certainly by the third reading. So Matt, if you'd take us through.
An ordinance amending section 403 of the ordinances of the city of Rock Springs entitled Vacancy, Manner of Filling Vacancies.
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson?
what brought this about?
Um,
Was there complaints with how we
Nope.
voted for Councilman Thompson, or
there was one complainant.
that we all voted for him?
No, it was,
He was the
no.
only choice.
When I went, because obviously it was my first time through having to replace a council member. And so I went and visited with Mr. Beckwith, and I was like, hey, what's our process? What do our ordinances say? And the current ordinance says that we will vote through a secret ballot. And I find that very objectionable. I don't think that government officers should conduct any business secretly. But that is just my opinion. And so I wanted to give the council an opportunity to discuss it and let everyone in the public know, whether you're for it or against it, what your reasoning is and where we stand on it, so that everyone knows how we feel about conducting any business secretly. And there's just no way for me to talk about it without being very clearly opposed to and negative about the idea. But I know that there are other perspectives on that are not just mine. So I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to discuss it. I think it is much better for us to vote through an open ballot process so there's a record. And I get that can be deeply uncomfortable. In this case, it was super easy because we had one person who decided that they wanted to step up and serve. But if we had 8 nominations and had to have those votes, that is a very uncomfortable thing to do. But the good news is that unlike this evening, there are going to be times where we have to make publicly uncomfortable decisions. And from my perspective, that is our job and duty. And we should not have an ordinance that is set up to protect us from discomfort in the discharge of our duties. So those are my thoughts and reasons. So I asked Rick to
Well, I
prepare
felt it
this.
was brought up before because I was part of the very uncomfortable portion of it. I was on that side, so I get where it is. I'm in favor of changing it, but I was just curious what brought it about.
Yes, sir. So that was my, I wanted to get through appointing a replacement. And then once that was done and settled, because that was our process, gives us the opportunity to evaluate whether or not that process is valid. So if anyone has comments they'd like to make tonight, if you want to wait until the next meeting when we do the second reading, I mean, that's why we have the 3 readings, to give the public and ourselves time to thoroughly vet a change to the ordinances.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a great idea. I think transparency in government is absolutely imperative to a functioning democracy. And I send kudos to whoever's idea it was. So thank you.
Very good.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else with ordinance that allows us to do anything in secret, or is everything other than executive session where it's closed to the public? Is there any other thing that is covered that says secret ballot, or so this is the only?
It's the only one that I'm.
Yeah, and I would, if I'm wildly inaccurate here, my assumption is that it's permitted as a sort of adjacent to a personnel question. Is that how we're allowed to have the ordinance that we can vote secretly? Because I don't really understand.
Your Honor, councilors, I can't tell you the province of the ordinance or the reasoning behind it to begin with. I know at the county level and by statute, they vote on these sorts of things by voice. So everyone gets to know who they voted for. And to your question, Councilor Thompson, I'm not aware of any processes that are allowed by Wyoming law that would allow the council to make any sorts of decisions in an executive session or in any secret way. And that's under the Public Records Act and the Public Meetings Act. We're just simply not allowed to do that. And as well, it should be. So this is, in fact, the only ordinance or law that we're subject to that provides for a secret ballot. And it is different than the county because they do have a voice vote. I could certainly change it to a voice vote. I chose open ballot. The statute says when relative to choosing the county officials that is done by voice vote, and so we could change it if that's what you'd like to do. I just simply chose open ballot because I felt that that would be a written record. So it was just merely my inclination.
What about the voting for president of council? Because that's been done in the past. I closed ballot.
So we did that. We did that through an open nomination and voice vote.
We did
It's
this
open.
time because only one nominee was there.
I didn't understand the question.
Apparently, in the past, there have been instances where more than one person was nominated to be president of the council, and that was also done through a secret ballot, which I don't know if anybody else has followed. I think everybody's aware that I have a deep interest in education, and the former state superintendent of public education did some naughty things. And then when the public looked to discover those things, there was efforts to minimize disclosure, which is so in at the direction of the state superintendent. And so it puts staff in a really horrible position, some of whom I'm personally friends with, but it is so grossly inappropriate for government to conduct itself in a way that is not open and transparent to the public. Nothing we do gets to be secret. Even in executive session, we can talk about legal issues, we can talk about personnel issues, because those are specifically protected by law. And then if there is some sort of real estate transaction or something where our public discussion would influence the price, we can talk about it, but we can't take action until it's out here where you can all see what we're doing. And so I have a deep interest in ensuring that all of us up here conduct ourselves in a way that is as transparent as possible and as understandable as possible to everyone. And so I would not support a vote for the president of the council either that was not open.
If I may, Mayor, councilors, I believe it was just the way it was done that time. The ordinances merely say that you vote on president in the absence of the president. So, and the manner in which the vote is taken is not prescribed by ordinance. This is the only ordinance really that out and out says by secret ballot.
Yeah. So, yes, ma'am. Oh, I thought you were pushing your mic. Oh, I thought you were like, I'm diving in. Okay. Well, very good. I think that was a good start. And certainly if any of the folks out in public have thoughts they'd like to share with us, I would welcome those at our next public comment, next meeting. And we will look at this twice more before voting on it, and maybe adjusting it to a voice vote would be a good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So with that, thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.